Hello and welcome to the first Ffw podcast of the new League season. Sorry if we're a little bit rusty, it has been a while, but once we get the training wheels off, hopefully we'll get up and running. I'm delighted to be joined by not only Jeremy Smith, not only Rich Allen somewhere in the Norfolk countryside somewhere, breaking into someone's conservatory, also by Ffw Booth. So hi everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
We've not done a podcast before for quite a long time, so this could be chaos. But quite like the season I think we're about to have. Now, I've not told the guys this, but what we're going to do, to give it a bit of a random order, I have given all 20 teams a number. And you're going to pick a number, we're going to pick a team, and then we're going to talk about them. So Philippa, ladies first, number between 1 and 20, please.
12, please.
Number 12, a cracker to start off. We've got Gangon. Yeah. So
I've
Gangon, obviously now.
I've got a vision of you picking balls out of a velvet bag.
If I had more time, I would have done that. Also, congratulations on Jeremy getting married as well. We've done a podcast since that happened.
Thank you very much.
You've probably had 2 kids at this time as well since we last did a podcast.
I might already have had 2 somewhere, I don't know.
The less said about that, the better. For any Warriors are listening. So, Gangop now coached by Anton Kombouari, was in charge of loans last season. Incomings and outgoings, you've got people like Etienne Dido, Luca Do, I hope he brings the beard back, Koku from PSG, the young striker Mendy from Nice on a free. Outgoings, Matisse Sankari has gone to Lille, Dembele, striker's gone, Jonas Loso. Melvin Erding went back to Hanover, but he's now gone to Metz. That's pretty much what they've done. Phil, what do you think of Gangon? Are we going to get more of the same? Have we got enough changes that they can improve? I mean, what do you take from what they've done so far?
I think looking at it, I mean, the fact that they've spent no money, as far as I can tell, and a lot of these deals are frees, loans. I think Sloan Privat has come in as well.
He's back. He was there already, wasn't he?
So this was finalised. It's a bit tricky to evaluate, really, because they weren't great shakes last season, and you can kind of see them being much as is. I mean, some of the younger guys coming in, maybe Luca Do and Nikoko, there's some promise there, but whether they'll be able to actually pull up any trees seems unlikely, I think.
Yeah. Jez, it seems pretty much like for like. You've got someone like Sankari going, but they bring in Dido and Do, 2 really good central midfielders. Do you see anywhere they've upgraded, or if they sort of relying on? I know you don't want to make that many bold predictions before the transfer window closes, and that's probably more, especially Gangot, someone like Ludovic Bois, who was so good for the under-19s winning the Euros. Does something like that stay, and is that going to be a massive factor in how they do?
Yeah, I think if Blah and also Coco, who had a few more chances than Blah last year and also showed promise, if they can both stay, then you're looking for them to really kick on. And I like what I saw last year of Alexandre Mendy. So I think with Priva, Mendy, and Briand, sharing the goals around them, I think they could probably do okay. I don't expect them to pull up any trees, but I'd expect them probably to sort of be safely in the bottom half of the table without worrying about relegation. But a lot of it, I think, everyone knows I love Gourvenek. A lot of it maybe depends on whether it turns out that in the past they were in a false position due to him. But Kombouari, I think, is a brilliant replacement. He's also got the experience. He's also done well wherever he's been. So I think they should be okay. Not a lot of improvement from last year, but I think there could be a little bit of progression as long as those 3 youngsters, the 2 that are already there and the one that's come in, keep kicking on.
Yeah. Rich, what has Kombouari got to do? He's still got some really good players like Nicola Benazet, Janis Saliba, who I know Jez is a big fan of as well, Thibaut Giresse, these kind of guys. You still got Kerbat and Sorbonne, the most probably regular centre-back duo in the league possibly. But what has Kombouari got to build on to make this team a bit more high-flying, I suppose?
I don't know if he necessarily has to, really. I think Guingamp fans will just be happy with keeping the Ligue 1 status. So in terms of his target, it's just stay in the league. It seemed to work pretty well with Gourvenec. You know, his target was obviously to get them out of Ligue 2, which he did, and then kept them in the top flight. So I think that's pretty much what the board will have told Camboire is to just keep us in this division. He's made some pretty decent signings for a club like Guingamp. I'm ever so pleased that they've signed Mendy up front, because I sort of feared for a sort of combined 400-year-old partnership of Sloan Provant and could have been their downfall this season.
That's definitely not goals, that's age, in case anyone's wondering.
Some youth, some movement a little up front will help them. So I sort of echo what's previously been said. They've got enough that they will stay on. It's not going to be a great season. I think there will be a bit of a Gourvenec hangover. But ultimately, yeah, they have enough, and I think they'll be struggling probably first part of the season, but I think come sort of February time they'll have probably pushed clear, I think.
Yeah, I've got them in the. I've been trying to make predictions as to where everyone's going to finish, and I got 1, 2, and 3, and then just went, nah, I have no idea. I've got them in my what I call my 10th to 17th zone, which is so vague, but. Yeah, I just really don't know where to put them. I think it's going to be. It depends how they react to one, the post-Gourvenec era, and two, how they react under Camboire, because he didn't do as much for Lens as everyone thought he would. Everyone thought he was going to get them back up, etc. But he's still got the great reputation for what he did at PSG and what he did at Valenciennes. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting job for him as well. Jeremy, next number.
20.
20, oh, you'd think we'd planned this. We really didn't. 20 is Metz.
I had a feeling you might have done that.
And that was no. So I wasn't saying that's where they're going to finish. I've actually got them. I've got you in that 20 to 17 zone. Because I think you've recruited really, really well. I'm not sure if you had a hand in people. Jan Joff, the most underrated player in the league.
You've got me in tears again.
Bevel Erding, who isn't. If Brendan's listening, he's never going to be that 10-goal a season guy, but he might get you 7. Simon Flet's a good defender. We'll see what Chris Phillips can do back in the team. Really good goalkeeper in Thomas Didion. We've lost Mbakoto to Queen's Park Rangers, but there's still. I think there's enough talent in that team to be sort of steady away, tough to beat, and keep you around the mix. What's you're probably more pessimistic than I am. What's of course, just in life in general. What's your thoughts on what you've done this summer?
I'm really pleased with what we've done this summer. My only concern is whether it's enough at the moment. I think last time we went up, we tried to sort of keep faith with youth and the team that got us from the National to Ligue 1, and that didn't really work. And then, frankly, we didn't really deserve to go up last year at all. So I was very worried if a lot of that squad sort of was kept intact, how this year would go. But I think the signings we've made are brilliant. Obviously, Jouf, Coad's been great in pre-season. Yeah. Got experience with Sinuino as well, and Erding, and the fact that we didn't pay for any of them helps as well.
That's a running theme through most of the teams.
Yeah. We also brought in, you said Fallet, we also brought in Mole from Crete, who's looked really good as well. Even though he got relegated last year, I think he was one of their star players. So midfield-wise, I'm very happy, and I kind of feel like our starting 11 is really good. But obviously, 38-game season, you're going to need more than that, and both our left backs are already out injured. So I'm worried a bit about strength and depth. We've got some really talented youngsters, but they're also really young talents.
Yeah.
Very few games between them. We've got people like Vincent Thiel, who Bayern Munich wanted to pay something like 8 million for. He's 16, so he's clearly really well thought of talent. but he's still very young. So I think we need a couple more players. A left back would be nice. We need another centre back, and I just saw that we might be in talks with Ffw, and we were after Fanny for a while. And my other concern is I don't think Erding is a. I've always said this. I like him as a player, but I like him more as a sort of a winger or one of the side players in a front three. I don't think he's a centre forward. I don't think he's going to score enough goals to keep us up.
I think if you're resting your survival hopes on the goals of Mevlut Erding, you're in for trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think we've got players there who can share it around. We've got Opan Getz, who's looked sharp and can finish, but again, he's not a centre forward. We've got Ismail Assar, who is the latest from the Generation Foot deal that we've got with Senegal. It's kind of where we got people like Diafra Sakho from, and a lot of people have said he's better than Sakho. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm sort of quietly positive, but there's definitely things to worry about as well.
Rich,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Anything to add on Metz?
Sadly, I think for Metz it's going to be a problem, as Jeremy touched on there. It's going to be lack of goals, I think, from the centre forward, and I think also it's going to be probably conceding too many as well. So it's sort of that holy double, not quite holy trinity, holy double of not scoring enough and conceding too many. So I'm hopeful that they stay up, because I do like the signings that they've made. I think someone like, if they can get Ffw in, that's a really good addition, because someone like him would be an excellent to bring into the defence. But I do fear for them this season. I think they could perhaps do with one or two more additions, I think, just to give them a bit more of a chance.
Philippa, are there 3 teams in the league worse than Metz, or should they be worried that they're in that relegation battle?
Well, I think I've got them listed as having done sort of shrewd business, even though, again, as Jared says, they haven't spent any money. But that is kind of a theme for bigger teams, more established teams, and also the fact that the starting 11's good but the bench might not be is also a bit of a theme elsewhere. So I think, a bit of luck and some, I think, decent defending is going to be the key there. As you say, they might not score that many, but if they can be obdurate at home and try to build on the home form and maybe take a couple of pastings away, then that can still work out all right. It works out for some other teams who focus on that. So it's tricky to call, but I think I've got them having done slightly better business than the other 2 promoted teams, but it's whether what they had already is, significantly different. So it's probably fairly even down there, I think.
Rich, next number, please, mate.
Number 4, please.
Number 4 is the Europa League disaster club, Lille. I don't know. Start. Okay, Rich, go on, you start first before I get ranty. What do you think? I mean, I think there's some decent business done. I think the Europa League exit, which probably isn't actually the worst thing ever, because it means we don't have to play Thursday, Sunday, and you can concentrate on the league and not have that hangover, etc., etc. It's just the shame of it in general is the bad thing, but I think we've done some okay business.
You've banked 20 million, haven't you?
Have you actually spent money? Yeah, with the Previl's 5. Depends what they played for Sankari. No one's quite sure. Eder about the same. They've actually spent some money. Yeah. Which is not like
any of that through more of these dodgy dealings with Ostend.
Yeah, that's If no one knows, basically Nicolas de Preville was signed by Ostend, and then he's come to us on loan, which is a bit dodgy because Mark Cook is the president of there and he has shares in Lille. Yeah, I think that's to get around DNCG, if I'm honest, because we just.
I mean, it's a good poke in the eye to them, isn't it?
It really is. It's like we can do this basically until Lille sell Boufal, which still might happen before the window shuts. We don't have any money to spend, so if you're going to bend the rules, it sort of works. But what do you think? It's hit and miss.
Yeah, no, I think there's been some. Yeah, they've Palmieri, De Preville, obviously signed Eder before the European Championships. Sankare, they're good Ligue 1 additions. There's no argument there. I still think they're suffering from their sort of age-old problem of that midfield is just nothing exciting about it.
But he can't play Balmont anymore because Balmont's gone. Hey!
Praise the Lord for that. Somehow Mavuba's still there. I think he'll probably be there until they have to put him in a box.
To be fair to Real Mavuba, last season when it was Amadou was more the anchor, and he didn't have to be sort of the defensive role. He was actually doing a lot better without that sort of weight on his shoulders. He was going forward a bit more. He was getting on the ball, and he wasn't as limited as he looked when you're playing beside Balmont. He's doing 2 jobs instead of 1. It wasn't as bad, but if you've got Amadou and Sankare together, that is a really powerful duo that most teams will struggle to keep up with. And you've got, the fact that Morgan Amalfitano's now our number 10 does pain me quite a bit. That hurts. That hurts a bit.
Antonetti knows what he's doing.
He didn't last week. Philippa, give me some good news. What do you think of Lille, or does Lille on the bad news even more?
It's kind of weird because you say the midfield looks nothing special, but there's some players in there, maybe similar players who should be kind of interesting. Mendes, Lopez, if you hang on to Boufal, whatever. There's definitely something there. It just doesn't seem to click. It did at the end, second half of last season, when all of a sudden we started scoring goals, and it was weird. But if that can be built on, obviously Boufal being out and or sold is something, but there is something there. It's just that Europa chaos. It wasn't you. I think it's the general curse. I think just every year something goes hideously wrong, and this year it was your turn. So this should mean that Monaco beat Villarreal, and that's all good. But that wasn't good, obviously.
No.
But it is so early. Yeah. You haven't got half the players back yet. You're still doing business. It is a very, very tricky kind of banana skin. I think in all of our previews we just said, all these clubs need not to screw up, and then that didn't happen.
It did,
But that's done. It's gone. Fine, as you say. Now concentrate on the league without having to be travelling halfway across Europe on a regular basis.
And it's so difficult when you've got a front line of Ryan Mendes and Eric Botiak, and you're like, I don't fancy goals at all here, and. Eder, obviously fantastic Euros. So glad we did that before the Euros, because imagine the price ones we would have wanted after you scored the winning goal in the final. That was a good deal. Lopez coming back late after the summer. Those qualified games is so early, and I think the Boufal injury just really messed everything up. If he had been fit, he would be gone. These players would be in earlier. We maybe have a couple more. Naeem Sliti from Red Stars, the one that we're still linked with, that he sort of wants to come, but we don't have the money. So that if Ostend can buy him as well, that'd be great. And it's a shame that Gramassy's gone. I thought he had a really good future, but then we got €6 million for him. But we bought him for 1, so that's a good deal. Jeremy, I've got Lille in the 4 to 10th category, which really sort of covers a massive thing. The defence is going to be as solid as ever. I think Palmieri's a really good addition. Really solid left back, much better defender than Jubio Sidibe. Really good left foot. If Savelli and Basha can stay fit, you got to love them. Corchia, probably one of the best right backs in the league, and we've still got Vincent Onyema. It's not all bad. What do you think of Lille going into the campaign?
I think it's relatively similar to Metz. That again, decent starting 11. Worry about depth and worry where the goals are going to come. I'd wait and see. Most of what he's done in the past suggests that Eder is a bit of a flash in the pan. But you don't get
waste
much.
all my hopes and dreams already.
You don't get much more of an ego boost than scoring a winner in the European Championship. So hopefully for you that will be the start of the end of last season will be the start of something special for him. The one I'm probably most interested in Lille. I like the Palmieri signing. I think that's really good. But I'm interested to see what happens with Bendia because so much unfulfilled promise, and then for sort of 3 weeks or so he looked like he was about to start fulfilling it, and then went quiet again. And then from what I hear, I mean, you'll know better than me, but from what I hear, Antonetti's played him a couple of times more as a sort of central midfielder.
Yeah, which
I don't know if that's a sort of long-term plan or a stopgap, but I'm interested to see what happens to him this season. If he stays at Lille, that is.
Well, yeah, I think I see the other day live with Montpellier.
Yeah, so
he was linked to Marseille as well, wasn't he, a few weeks ago?
Oh, he'd go down a storm at Marseille.
I don't think that's quite the place that would be best for his continued development. I don't think. Having been to Marseille there and experienced it and all its glory, I'm not sure.
You not have to sit on the bench at Newcastle for a season to qualify for Marseille.
Yeah, I think that's the other Ostend method, isn't it? You go to Newcastle and you come back in Marseille and make money off you. Philip, another number, please.
8.
Number 8 is a team that I think you think has done some good business this summer. It's Bastia, who are following the trend of
not spending any money.
Yeah. But they've done some really interesting deals. They've got Lenny Nongis from Lille. They've got Alan Saint-Maximin from Monaco. El Qatari, one of your old favourites, has signed one from Palermo. Enzo Crivelli, part of the 50 from Bordeaux on loan, who has promised to be a really... And he's probably an upgrade on Brandao. He brings that same bullishness and strong centre forward without possibly the baiting or whatever, all the sort of the things that come with Brandao. What do you think of Bastia?
No, I think again, this no money spent thing, I mean, that's been their thing for so long, and that's why Pants was an amazing manager to do what he did there, spending no money for about 5 years in a row or something like that. I think selling Aiti to Fulham, banking some money there, means they've managed, not having, in a sense, to spend any of it. They've got these new guys in who are all younger guys, all those attackers, Crivelli, Nongis, Maximin.
Yeah.
What I was worried about was maybe the defence, making sure that stayed strong with Palmieri going off, but obviously Alcatari is he's a solid player, been shifted around a bit since leaving Montpellier, but still a very, very capable man. So I think they look like they've, in a sense, upgraded, even though they've lost, a couple of long-standing players. Their thing has always been young players on loan, older guys on frees, and club stalwarts, as it were. That seems to be continuing, and I think they stand a very good chance of doing what they did last year. They finished 10th last year and should be kind of aiming at that kind of place again, because they are. It's the home form that is the key, but they do seem very consistent, and they're so bloody minded that you just have to kind of respect that.
I mean, they've still got people like Kawazak, Scalacci, Gail Danic. There's a nice little Mehdi Mustafa. There's a nice sort of mix of youth and experience. Jez, is the youth up front going to be a problem? Because obviously the pressure at home to keep that home record going and keep the Amontevesi a fortress. Are these maybe too young heads to put that pressure onto?
I don't think so. I think if you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I'd have said Bastia definite relegation candidates. But I think there's sort of 3-4 players that have been mentioned are really good signings, and I was really surprised that Bordeaux let Crivelli go on loan, because I think really shown good progression the whole of last year. Is in France, like you said, a sort of Brandao character, but an upgrade, and not a typical kind of Ligue 1 centre forward. So he offers something different, and he doesn't seem the type to I don't think he'll wilt under pressure. I think, if anything, he looks the type that will thrive under it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good move for him. Ffw as well did well second half of the season at Haas. So no, I think up front, I mean, Sam Maximin, to be honest, I didn't really follow what he did last year. But it will be interesting to see whether he's progressed from, I don't want to say Theo Walcott, but from what I remember at Saint-Etienne, he was just very quick. But yeah, I think up front arguably is where they're going to look strongest.
Yeah. Rich, have they got enough to finish outside the relegation zone?
They do, yeah. I'm fairly confident that they've got that. The key for them, I think, and this should be emblazoned on the dressing room wall at Bastia, is keep 11 players on the pitch. I think it's them and Toulouse, really.
Keep the fans in the stands as well. That's another one.
Fans in the stands, players on the pitch, and yeah, I think somewhere around a comfortable mid-table finish will be well within their grasp. But yeah, no, really like their signings that they've done.
It's made it much more interesting. I think I'd be much more keen to watch a Bastia game now rather than you're going to get Brandao and these other guys. There's reasons to watch them again, to see how Sam Maximin has done, to see how Crivelli comes on. I think that's something a few teams have done. They've made them much more an interesting prospect, and Bastia is definitely one of them. Rich, next number please, mate.
I will go for 16.
16 is the champions-elect Paris Saint-Germain.
That's a bit presumptuous.
Shock revelation. Yeah. It was really sad how good they were against Lyon on Saturday, because it gave that impression of there's going to be no hangover post Zlatan, post Blanc. This team is very, very good. Rich, is there any way possible that PSG aren't going to win the league this season?
No.
Excellent.
I can't get any more. One thing I do think, I don't think it will be. They'll walk it. Of course, they will walk it. I think. I don't think it will be quite as emphatic as it was last season. Yeah. Purely on the basis that I don't think they necessarily have, and this is a stupid thing to say, I know, considering they just scored 4 goals in that mock friendly, doesn't count for anything, game the other week. But without Ibrahimovic and without the sort of ridiculous number of goals that he will score through whatever source, I don't know. I can see them slipping up in a few more games than they did last season.
I actually think they're going to be stronger. I think just watching the way that Emery's setting them up, and that attack doesn't even need a striker anymore. There's the movement, the pace. You look at Kurzawa and Ori, where just busting forward like wingers, and you're like, these are going to be really hard to stop once they get going, and they're only just getting started. I think they looked faster without Zlatan. They looked more clinical. I mean, Ben Arthur wasn't really even on the pitch, really, and they still scored 4. You add, the Hesse signing, I'm not convinced he's what they need, but he's still a very, very talented player who will probably be better for PSG than he ever was for Real Madrid, because he's going to possibly play more games. And I just think the movement and the intelligence, and if Pastore can stay fit, he looks in the mood to be destructive. And yeah, I think Jez agrees, which is rare on some things. I think they look really, really good, don't they?
I think it'll be, against Lyon, a decent team who try to play football and try to attack. So it will be. We need to see PSG against teams that are coming absolutely for a 0-0 and try to get away with a point. But I just, you look at the midfield options they've got. It's just frightening. Verratti. It was almost a non-season for him and Pastore last year. So, hopefully for them, they'll both be fit. Krychowiak now added to the mix. Yeah. Rabiot a year older and more experienced. It is frightening. Hopefully Emery's got his head screwed on and will drop Luis or Silva and put Marquinhos in now as a proper centre back, which would make them even better. And I don't know. I feel like Zlatan could the fact that he's gone could liberate some of the other players. It's a bit like when Ronaldo went off in the Euro final. I thought that was probably the worst thing that could happen to France, because the rest of the team would start actually playing as a team. And I'm not saying PSG always went for Zlatan, but he was so dominant in that team, I think, on and off the pitch, that I think it could liberate some other players. Pastore now really can sort of stamp his authority and make it his team. And Cavani's, it'll be interesting to see whether he's capable of really being that number one striker that he wants to be. But even if he's not, there's Augustin behind. You've got Hatem Ben Arfa, who's for me still the number one flat trap bully. He goes missing against decent teams, but even if he does nothing in the Champions League, which is what I expect, I'm sure he'll do well enough at home against teams like Toulouse and Metz, no doubt. I think they seem stronger all round. They've got. I still think Areola's better than Trapp, but the fact that Areola's the second keeper means that Trapp really needs to be on his game.
Yeah.
As you said, Cazorla and Norier have both had sort of issues in the past, but both look ready to forget about them and kick on. So I think they're a bit frightening.
Thomas Meunier looked really good in pre-season as well. That pushes Ori, and I think now that the competition they have in places should stop them going that stale way they go sometimes, where they're not pushing on. You look at, if you've got Krychowiak and Verratti starting, Matuidi and Rabiot on the bench, that's just like any team would take those two to start. Philippa, I know they looked really good against Lyon, but Lyon sort of pressed the self-destruct button, trying to play a high line against that PSG attack and got ripped apart. Is there anything you can see that's going to cause PSG to struggle?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where technically it could happen, but only if a real confluence of events kicked in. I think what Joe said about Ibra leaving possibly liberating things is true, because it would kind of Ibrahimovic, by sometimes the way he played, actually changed the shape of the team with blocking back and whatever. I think Cavani is probably looking at this situation as brilliant, I'm the main man, but now he's got Hatem Ben Arfa behind him, and obviously Augustin had a brilliant under 19 Euros. He's still got some headaches kicking in there. So what I'm hoping for is that possibly PSG do struggle in more matches, because Emery takes the view to try more of those young players. We saw Kimpembe and Nkunku get a couple of games, a couple of starts at the end of the season, be used a bit more. If they pick up some of the ones that haven't yet gone out on loan, I know Sabali has. I don't know about Edouard. I think Edouard's gone to Toulouse.
Yep.
But they've still got a couple of those guys, those younger guys on the books. If they're used more in some of the more banker games, maybe they're still going to win by one. They might not win by, but that's the thing. But that would actually be really positive, because it would show growth. Internal growth, rather than just they've spent 76 million so far. So and that goes for the Marquinhos thing you were saying as well. Now they've got two decent left backs, two decent right backs. Use the man in the middle, seriously. David Luiz' own goal for West Brom in pre-season, I think, is just characteristic. So I expect them to win. Not as easy as last year, but hopefully that's because they risk a couple of domestic games by giving some of these guys a chance.
I'm also hoping it's going to be closer, that the other teams that can finish second or third show a bit more consistency. The Louise thing's interesting, because I was speaking to Robbie Thompson at Ligue1.com at the Man City game, and obviously he does the This Is Paris thing. He was saying that it's not. Don't take it as that Blanc thinks that Luiz is better than Marquinhos. It was more that Thiago Silva prefers playing beside Luiz than he does Marquinhos.
I wish Thiago Silva would just grow the fuck up.
Didn't we see that with Alex when he was at PSG? Wasn't that the whole reason of them signing him?
The Mamadou Sakho went, but what's interesting is Thiago Silva is still probably the best defender in the league, and if he thinks he's better beside David Luiz than he does with Marquinhos, as ridiculous and childish as it is, this is where Blanc obviously succumbed to Thiago Silva's wishes, bow down to his captain. and granted them that, but is
the 4th highest salary in the world I saw this week.
Is Emery going to do the same? If Emery thinks Marquinhos is better, you kind of hope that he says, "Fucking suck it up, mate. I'm playing this instead." And that's a really interesting thing to look out for.
Also, if you don't have to count out Ibra because he's not there anymore, maybe you've got a bit more energy to, say no, seriously no to other players. I don't know.
And obviously,
psychology.
Thiago Motta's obviously situation, he's not as powerful as it was in the team, and obviously Ibra's gone. So maybe there's more chance of sort of teaming up against Thiago Silva and saying, "Look, mate, just no, because if they don't play Marquinhos, he's going to go. That's the bottom line. He's not going to hang around forever."
I wonder if he's got assurances, because I can't believe he hasn't gone already.
I wonder if the Olympics was sort of part of it, because it wasn't meant to be going to that to start with, and obviously that's going really, really well for them. And I wonder if that was part of it. Let me go to the Olympics, and then obviously, because then Luis can start a couple of games, and then you can bring him in. It's going to be a really interesting sub sort of story to look for. Jez, number please. If it's been said, I'll just make you pick another one. Don't worry.
Okay. 4. Have we had that?
We've had 4 yet.
3.
3 is Toulouse, which is mentioned. Edson Edouard from PSG's gone on loan there. Jez, Pascal Duprat did an amazing job keeping them up last season. Obviously, Ben Yedder's gone. They've still got Martin Braithwaite. They've still got a lot of really good young talent. Have they got enough to avoid the relegation zone? What do you think of what they've done this summer?
I think a lot of it depends on Duprat, and I still think he's a little bit of a sort of Kevin Keegan, Stuart Pearce, Blood and Thunder, which works well. The
last 5 games of the season,
yeah. I mean, they're the one team that obviously they'll now get a Champions League place, but they're the one team that I sort of feel relatively comfortable saying I think I'd have them in my bottom 3 at the end of the season. I think Ben Yedder is such a big loss.
Yeah.
I think even Didot's creativity from midfield could be missed at times. It's putting a lot of pressure on Edouard and Toivonen, who I'm sure Rich can wax lyrical about.
I was going to wait for the Toivonen one to go to Rich for that.
I like Julien coming in defence, but in general, I don't think they're strong enough.
Yeah, Rich. The outgoings also Ben Yedder, Dido, Cannabie, Zinedine Machadra, like Matthias Tisserand coming in, big man, Ola Toivonen, Jesse P's come in, Silla's come back from Gazalek. I think they definitely look weaker, which would be a worry. Toivonen's not even going to replace a quarter of Ben Yedder's goals. Are you a little bit worried about Toulouse?
I am worried about Toulouse. I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully Silla coming back in and getting straight back into the starting 11 for Toulouse, because I like, we're fans of his. We like Issa Diop. I'm absolutely heartbroken that Cannabie has moved on.
Yeah, it was a strange move to Kayserispor in Turkey. No disrespect to them, but yeah.
It's because he's dreadful.
But he's a good guy to have around for those young defenders.
They've got obviously they've lost Tisserand as well, who Duprat got sort of probably the best that we've seen him in quite some years. They've got obviously Blin has come back. They've got Bodiger, so they've got a couple of youngsters, some really good youngsters there. But I think a lot of it does fall upon, can between Braithwaite and Toivonen get somewhere close to the goals that Ben Yedder scored last season, because that's going to be the key. Defence can sort itself out. Duprat somehow managed to make them relatively tight at the back, considering the sort of calamity that we'd seen earlier in the season with them. I'm sort of liking the defence. I think they could perhaps do with one, maybe 2 more players, but I'm liking the look of their defence to a degree. It's up front. If they can get Toivonen happy, which it seems he hasn't been since about the first 6 games since when he joined Rennes. If they can get him happy and involved in the play, playing regularly, he's capable of scoring. that first half of the season, we signed him in January transfer window.
His first game
January at the end of the
against
season.
Lille at the Stade Pimouin, I watched and I thought he looks quite good actually, and then I think it was all
he's-
downhill from there.
If they can get him scoring, Braithwaite got 11 goals last season. If they can keep his head on, because there was some dreadful misses in that run of his, but if they can get him scoring and Torbjorn and playing together well, that might just be enough with the sort of blend of youth that they have in the side. And as Jess, I think it does depend on Duprat and whether he sort of almost rests on his laurels of what he achieved last season. I think he has to continue sort of pressing them and pushing them. Whether he has that in him for a whole season, I don't know. But it's not going to be a fun season for them, I don't think.
Yeah, Philip, obviously people looking at Braithwaite and Toivonen for goals. I mean, how much do we put on the fact that Edson Edouard, who looks a fantastic goal scorer, is he going to be given a lot of chance, you think, to sort of break through for this team and be the new Ben Yedder?
Well, you'd hope so, but I think the thing with Toulouse is for the past 2 seasons, they've had relegation fights in both of them, and it was a bit weird trying to work out why, because the players they actually had looked better than that, and obviously it was maybe they were being used correctly, and so Duprat came in and gave it some welly and some big-hearted speeches in the training room, and that worked. As Rich says, whether that's going to work for a full season is arguable, because it looks like they've got weaker with these changes. I mean, Ben Yedder's huge. Is like Pro gone as well? Is he in Trabzonspor?
He's on his way out, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, there's quite a lot of the starters have gone. So whoever you bring in, there's going to be a period of sort of transition getting going, and whether they're going to be able to get going well is going to be key, because if they have a bad start, that's going to lead to nerves and whatever. But I think I've got them as weaker than they were in squad terms, because Edouard is largely untested at senior level. So, being brilliant at youth level is one thing. Fighting with the big guys is another. So that one, I think I've got there could be trouble ahead written on my notes. So yeah, I think that's it's going to be another difficult season, I think, for them.
See, now I'm conscious that we're over nearly an hour in, and we've still got a lot of teams to discuss. So I'm gonna take off Dijon and Nancy off the list, because let's wait and see how they got on the first few weeks of the season. We can look at them a bit more in depth then. I'm also getting rid of St Etienne, because I've nothing to say about them whatsoever.
my notes on them read defence ! Striker ! And yeah, that's where I am. Also, they've injured Brian Darboe already.
Did you forget to write midfield ? As well?
Well, my notes say Roux goal scorer ?
You know what? I'd fucking take him back.
I think Bielsa might still be on their Europa list, because they have so few senior players they didn't need to replace him. So the fact that deal appears to be going south, he may be able to come back, but who knows?
Okay, Jeremy, number?
1.
Yes, 1 is Philippa's team, Montpellier. Probably best to let Phil tell us what's going on there.
Really? Shall I just pop and get myself another drink? We've had the traditional sell 2 key players for not that much money, but fortunately it was for more money than last season. So Brian Darboe's gone to Saint Etienne, Jonas Martin's gone to Betis, hence the friendly at the weekend. So that's 7 million banked. The one that really annoys me is not picking up the option to buy on Rami Bensebaini, who has gone to Rennes, and obviously Yatabare's gone home as well. So there were some gaps in the squad. Obviously, Bensebaini's gap was in several positions, because he was never really a first choice anywhere, and I think that was kind of unfair on him. He was asked to fill in a lot of places. But looking at the squad as we've got it, we have 4 right backs and 1 left back, which is an interesting situation.
That's twice as many as we've got in those two positions.
You've got
one of the right backs is Dylan Gissey. I'm still counting him. He's still on the books. So the one guy who's come in is Anthony van den Boer.
He's a legend amongst football. I think he's played everywhere and anywhere.
But in the Montpellier tradition of being a polyvalent player, a right back, he can also play right wing back, which is what Roussillon can do on the other side. I had serious worries at the beginning of the window we were going to be playing 3 at the back this season, but I'm not sure we've actually got enough centre backs to do that if there's injuries. But it seems like, there's a bit of a block at right back and midfield. There's quite a few people, but up front, it's 5 people for 4 positions, so the fact that Steve Mounier appears to have turned down Fulham to stick around is good, because that means there's actually some cover up there. Why all of the players we're being linked with at the moment seem to be holding midfielders when we have several of them already, I don't know. Maybe they're cheaper. But it's going to be another season of hoping everybody stays fit and unsuspended, and therefore people can play in something approaching their chosen position.
And hoping Boudabou stays full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still some that could go out, and the other ones that have come in, I think we've picked up 2 youth team players from Evian for the reserves, because Evian have gone bankrupt. So that's basically it.
There's the one that's called, is it Killian Sanson? Is it relation? Is he a relation?
Yes, we have brother of Morgan, Killian, and we also have son of Yuri, Owen Djorkaeff has come in as well from the Evian fire sale. I think they've brought Nicolas Saint-Ruf back from loan. Mounier obviously played for Nîmes last season, where he scored a lot. Promoted Vital. Killian Sanson probably won't go into the first team, but Lord knows if he gets sent off in the first week, then fair enough.
I really want the Sanson brothers to patrol in the Montpellier midfield. I think
it would be lovely.
So much of your season depends on Boudabou's, Morgan Sanson, and the everlasting Hilton. Legend.
He's 39. Good lord. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be another tough one, I think, but. Hans seems to be someone who is capable of dealing with a situation like this without fuss, and without aggro.
You are the mainland Bastia. That's what you are.
No, I think he's sensible about these things. I think he'll deal with it well.
Give me a number, please.
13.
13 is you've brilliantly segued into Rennes. Thank you.
Yay.
Rich, tell her how many players have you got on the books now? Because your squad seems to be the biggest squad going.
Yeah, we've still got enough to fill 4 sides.
It's ridiculous. I've been writing down the squads on Google spreadsheet, and it's the longest one that goes down. I think I can press page down twice, and I'm still. And I've got it at 8, a font of 8 as well. So yeah, ridiculous.
Well, they've actually rewarded for the first time in a few seasons. It feels like they've rewarded a good number of youth team players with professional contracts. So. Fingers crossed it means they'll actually see some action for the club, or if not, they'll just be loaned out for 2 seasons and then sold to Gazelle Ajaccio. It's been, Montagnier gone, Corby's gone. You'd have thought, okay, a bit of stability. Christian Gourcuff coming in. No, we're still having a number of players coming, a number of players leaving. It's been players brought in that I don't really know why they've been brought in. Clement Chanton is not a player that we needed. Nothing against him, but he's really not a player that we needed.
Experience.
Well, when you got Gelson Fernandez already in midfield, I think experienced box has probably already been ticked twice.
I was trying to help.
I'm beyond help.
Paul Nardi's an interesting one, because you've got Benoit Costil now was linked with going. I think that was meant to start the chain of events that saw him leaving, but now he's still there. And
and apparently Paul Nardi's not happy. He was given assurances that he'd be coming in on the basis that he'd effectively be given the number 1 jersey.
That was meant to be the sort of Costil would go somewhere, and it was all meant to move on from there. But
that's not happening. We've now got. We're basically going to end up with 2 unhappy goalkeepers in whatever combination that you want, because Diallo as well has got his eyes on the number 1 jersey. He actually managed to get some games last season and actually was pretty good. So I think he's realised, actually, you know what, I'm pretty good at this goalkeeping. Actually, I might give it a go. It looks like we're going to be playing 4-4-2 this season, which I'm a bit more happy about. It means
standard Lorient formation.
Well, I wouldn't have expected anything less. For me, it's up front. I still have concerns there. That's the area that we need to be focusing on.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how gutted are you still that Ousmane Dembele is gone? Was it done that early that you've sort of come to terms with it? You've moved on.
I think I'd accept.
You've thrown away your memorabilia, the things you used to own, and his old jumper. He
didn't play for us long enough to get any memorabilia. I don't think any was actually produced. He was always going to go. I never really kidded myself really that he was going to stay. I may have said it once or twice in vain hope, but deep down, never thought that he was going to stay. So was comfortably moved on. I don't think anyone really still knows exactly how much he went for. Some say 5, some say 15. If it's the latter, I'm a bit more happy. If it's the former, then I'm absolutely disgusted. As I say, for me, Rennes' big problem this season is going to be up front. They've got CO, who no one at the club particularly likes, and he doesn't like anyone at the club either.
Montpellier trying to buy him? It's all that rumour. Yeah.
Is he the new Montano then? Is he going to go between Montpellier and Rennes for a few years?
We've got him. We've got Wesley Saïd, who actually has looked half decent pre-season. Came back from a pretty okay-ish for Rennes striker standards season with Dijon.
How's Kermit Erasmus been? Because I saw he's played every match.
Can we give him his full name, please? I mean, Kermit Romeo
Erasmus.
Is he still got the number 9? Because that's even more offending than Amalfitano getting 10.
I believe he has. It looks like he will be. I think it's going to be him and Saïd possibly as the first choice. I'm not sure.
Really?
Well,
if he is, why have you not got a green away kit?
Yeah, that's tedious. That is.
It's got to be done. We'll move on. I made it easier. We've now got 9.
Can I just ask Rich a quick question?
No.
About Rennes.
Okay. Of course you can.
I just wanted to know if Unu and Percic have been playing at all in pre-season.
Percic, no. Unu, not really. He's played a few. He didn't travel to Swansea. He stayed with the reserves.
Maybe he wasn't allowed in.
There's an increasing number of Rennes fans. Oh yeah. Don't get me started. There's an increasing number of Rennes fans who are actually thinking that he's not very good, and I think, well,
that's because I've never seen him play.
He was really good for Clermont last season. I think he was in Ligue team of the season.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly. He was voted Clermont's player of the season. Give him a go. He's a good player. I just want to see him play. I fear he will go.
The problem I have is if he can't get a game, then Salvamon isn't going to get a game, and it just goes down the list.
He's supposed to be off to the half.
Okay, that's a good move for him.
And hasn't Tep been transfer listed?
No.
Okay.
No, don't believe what other publications may have said.
Is that the other publications who's called Leo's white kit their away kit?
I've got it on
research.
I've got it on sort of good a good source, shall we say, that basically he's not been transfer listed, but if a decent offer comes in, Rennes would be willing to listen on that. So I think that's pretty much the standard procedure for any player.
In the whole league,
yeah. If a decent offer comes in, yeah, we'll listen.
Yeah.
But the latest one is Lazio. He's been linked with. But transfer money is yet to be agreed.
Players of colour have done really well in Lazio, haven't they? Yeah. Rich, give us a number 1 to 9.
1 to 9. Let's go 7.
7 is a really interesting one. One that quite excites me. Bordeaux.
It does. Yeah.
because one they have Jocelyn Governick, which is fantastic. Now they have the man with one ear, the Vincent Van Gogh of Ligue 1, Jeremy Menez, which is just it's phenomenal. If anyone had said to me, yeah, Menez is going to sign for Bordeaux, I'd be like, nah, you're mad. Where have you got this from? It's a fantastic move, and they've got Toulon as well, and Francois Camano, who I really like from Bastia, and obviously Sablé is a really good fullback. They've got
Toulon?
I said Toulon, yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, so, yeah.
They've got rid of a lot of deadwood as well, and Philip, I'm quite excited to watch Bordeaux for a change.
Yeah, I thought the business they did when you saw they've got Toulon and Menez in on freeze and Sablé in on loan, you thought, oh, okay, good, right. I think the issue there is going to be the striking situation, because Diabate's gone, right?
Yeah.
Crivelli's been loaned out. Is there enough there to play that? I mean, Gourvenac might change the system a bit. It's obviously the finish last year wasn't brilliant. They'll be looking at top half, trying to get back to top 6 again. But it seems to be decent business. But would it be enough to do big things? But then you look at everybody else is kind of paddling around as well. Why not? So I think it's been an interesting set of moves, but just wondering about maybe the attack. If they can get that working, then why not? Because it does seem to be, there's been good strength brought in for nothing basically. So. An interesting window for them. They're one of my green ones in the bottom half from last season.
Okay. I mean, the front line, they may not have a lot of centre forwards, but like Menez, Diego Roland, Adam Unas, if he's still there, Maurice Belly, Malcolm looked decent. There's enough options there to play, really. And then there's also who I've called the Will Grigg of Ligue 1, Isak Kisatelin, who apparently plays for Bordeaux. I don't know when the last time he actually got a game for them is, but he apparently is a centre forward and apparently plays for Bordeaux.
I've completely forgotten he was there.
That's why I write down squad lists. Like, oh yeah, I remember him. Thomas Touré as well, Jeremy, who at one point was like the next big thing and then sort of disappeared for a bit. What do you think of Bordeaux, Jez?
I think there's a few unknowns there, but I think for once, it's going to be quite fun to watch. Apart from their horrible first kit, which won't be fun to watch.
I don't like that third kit either. That's just wrong. That's bad wallpaper.
They do that every season. You remember the mad pink disco wave in Europa as well.
It's actually the first kit that I don't like.
Yeah, I don't. It's like go for the neck thing. Go for the pinstripe. Don't go for both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I think, yeah, for once it's going to be quite exciting to watch them. I mean, you don't even know who their first keeper's going to be yet. They've got a decent choice of 3.
And Carasso, yeah.
They've got 3 players whose names have popped up in previous France youth tournaments. I think in Laborde, Pelena, and Kabuni scored that wonder goal in Toulon a couple of years ago. Toulon, I think, is an excellent signing. He's just always quietly reliable wherever he goes, and clearly a good leader as well. And Menez, again, it's an unknown. It could go brilliantly or go down in flames, but if it goes down in flames, it'll probably be good fun to watch.
Exactly, yeah. Even if it goes wrong, it'll be entertainingly fun. Rich, one player that should come back this season is interesting is Gregory Sertic, because he got that really bad injury last season. He's going to be like a new signing. I've seen rumours he might be starting centre back, which is next to Palois, which would be interesting. Anything do you think that might go in Bordeaux's favour? They can sort of push up that table, or is it going to be a sort of a season of unknowns and mid-table consolidation for Gourvenac?
I absolutely think that they will be significantly further up the table this season, and if I'm going to hold on to exactly where I've predicted them in the table until perhaps towards the end when we might disclose them, but I have them quite high up. I am really looking forward to seeing them this season, and I genuinely cannot remember the last time I've said that about a Bordeaux side.
I stopped at the old ground. I just stopped watching them because it was just awful. It's just, it wasn't very good at all.
Yeah, I mean, all it seems to have taken is just the right manager. The right manager in place just seems to have given an air of optimism. So, certainly
a lot of
me,
people felt like that about Sanyo as well.
You couldn't resist.
You
get the ball though.
Jeremy,
Take Willie Samuel.
Jeremy Menace is going to be, as you say, it's going to be fun to watch. Whatever. I've heard him described as potentially this season's Ben Arthur, in so much as past history, free transfer, bit of redemption maybe, but we'll see.
Was also Dick at Euro 2008, was it, or 12, or which one it was?
12.
Oh yeah,
12,
yeah. So there's plenty there because they tick the box with experience, they tick the box with youth, they tick the box for having a fairly comfortable defence, fairly comfortable midfield, what could be quite an exciting attack. I'm really looking forward to watching them, and no doubt losing their opening game 3-0 to St. whatever it is.
Jeremy, give me a number, please.
You're just doing 1 to 9 still.
Yeah.
8.
8 is possibly one of the I put title contenders in brackets. Battle for Champions League place, AS Monaco. And now, Jeremy, you were quite critical last season about how many players Monaco let go in the sort of big mass exodus. It's not been as bad this year. They seem to have consolidated a little bit, as much as Monaco will, and they've brought in some really good players. The weird one is the release of Ricardo Carvalho, the spring release, which is a strange one. But they've got Camille Glick, Brenner Mendy, Sidibe, if we can call him a defender. Valor Germain, the FFW favourite, is back in. Falcao, who's got a knock, is back. They've got a decent team. If they can find some stability, I think they've got a very good chance of at least coming second, haven't they?
Again, I don't want to say anything until the end of the transfer window because last year
What's the point having a podcast on the bloody 10th of August?
Let me finish. Last year, I think we all predicted Monaco firstly to do well and secondly to be possibly the most exciting team to watch going forward. And then August happened. But then I think relatively early on this summer there was a week where it looked like Jardim was absolutely set to leave, and then suddenly he's staying, and they came out and said we're changing our model and we are going to keep players this summer, and so we'll see if that's borne out.
We'll see.
Next month, but
when Puyol left Nice, I got a DM from someone who we know who worked at Monaco, and he said to me, "Don't be surprised if Puyol ends up at Monaco."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and then it just never quite happened. I don't know what happened in between those two events, but yeah, it never happened. And it seems from then on they've sort of steadied the ship, and I think probably improved it, haven't they? I
think so. I think in defence, certainly. Fullbacks wise, I think they've probably upgraded a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm still hoping Traore comes through this year, but obviously the fact that he was one of my Ffw profiles has condemned him. Obviously Falcao and may or may not. I mean, he's looked good or sharper in pre-season. If he can click and stay fit first of all, and then click with Germain, who, as you said, we all like, and for some reason has always been a little bit underappreciated. Such a clever player. It looked like they had the real makings of a good partnership coming into the Champions League playoff matches. If they click, then I think they will score a lot. They've got so much talent behind with Lamar and Silva, all these kind of players. The only sort of slight concern is losing players like Carvalho and Toulalan. That's a lot of experience there. But a lot of what I said last year about how exciting I think they could be still applies this year. They've got another Traore who's coming. It's Traore who's coming back from broken leg. So yeah, I mean, I really think that, and they signed Ait Benacer, but unfortunately they've loaned him back to Nossi. I think he's going to be great this year.
That's
and
I'm going to ask Philip. Sorry, Jess. Do you think probably the weakest thing with Monaco is probably the centre of midfield, because Fabinho's going to go play there, who's done a fantastic job when he's sort of gone between right back and centre midfield. A lot of pressure on Bakayoko now to sort of step up. Traore is back to be fit. Outside of that, you're thinking, do they have enough in that centre of the park to really boss teams and control games?
I think what we've seen in the Champions League qualifiers was a move to a 4-4-2, which when Falcao and Germain are both available, it looks like both of them might be out for the playoff. It kind of fitted in better. Because last season they were so reliant on good defence and yes, that's been weakened. But I think Cavalier only it was a surprise that he extended last season, because he could have gone on a free then. He was getting on a bit. They needed to kind of move things up. But I've got 6 guys out on loan, but also 4 guys leaving because loans have ended, which included Wallace, who obviously wasn't brilliant but was there. So it looks like, hopefully it will be more exciting, that in a sense the defence might be a little bit shaky at times, but they're just going to pour forwards. Whether, as you say, there'll be the ability to link that correctly, given that the midfield appears to be a little short, is one thing, but given the amount of wide players they can put in place, obviously Kylian Mbappe also had a brilliant under 19 Euros, so he's going to be there champing at the bit, waiting for Germain or possibly Falcao, to be injured for a while to get his chance. They could be really, really exciting to watch. I don't know whether this playoff, whether it would be better for them to get through or to boss the Europa League, unlike how they did last season. It'll be interesting to see where they end up, but wherever they end up, I think if they're in the Europa League, we might see more of the youngsters there, and that might be more interesting for a neutral. Obviously, their fans will want them to go as far as possible in the main competition, but, they've got a very good chance now of, one or the other.
Yeah.
And it should, hopefully, crossed fingers, and hope we don't jinx it, be interesting to watch because of what they brought in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the kiss of death for them. Rich,
sorry, my apologies, all Monegas.
Rich, they could play it sort of similar to the way that Italy played in the Euros, and basically ignore the centre of the park completely and play down the wings of like Mendy and Lamar and Silva and Sidibe and those guys, and just really load down the channels looking to pick out Wagner-Love, Falcao, Germain, Carrillo, Ivan Cavallero, if he still exists, who knows. Is the midfield a worry, or do you think they've got so much more power down the wings that they can just totally overload down there?
I think centre midfield is not quite as bad as it's perhaps made out to be.
Do we think Gianmartino's staying? Because he's been leaving ever since he arrived, and never actually is still there.
This is the first year he doesn't seem to have been linked to anyone.
But I think when you look at the midfield, bias or not, I am a big fan of Bakayoko. I think this will be a big season for him, because I do think with Toulon going, he will be seeing a lot more action. I think you got him.
Made 14 starts last season.
Yeah. So I think if they can have him sort of almost sitting in front of your back four, you have Adama Traore as your sort of leg man, if you like, in midfield, box to box midfield. Yeah. And then you can have the likes of Lamar out wide, perhaps Silva out wide, or Dirar out wide, with then Falcao, Germain, got Mbappe, who could also play out wide. You've got Corentin Jean as well, who's come back, sort of forgotten forward. So I think what I am really looking forward to Monaco this season. I think they've strengthened where I felt that they were at their weakest last season, which was in defence. I think the 3 signings they've made there have improved them quite significantly. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think, giveaway as to where I've put them in my predicted table, I think they will be the side to push PSG the hardest out of all the chasing, if you want to call them a chasing pack.
When you say push, you mean sort of look at from a distance, but closer than anyone else.
Be the last team PSG say goodbye to.
Yeah. I think defensively they'd probably still be stronger if Fabinho was still a right back and Siribi was a winger, but then I think you need him in the centre midfield as well. Okay, we've still got 7 teams to get through, so I might just ask for 1 or 2 words from a couple of them depending on who it is. Rich, give me a number.
9.
9 is Angers. Let's have 1 word on Angers, Rich.
They'll be all right. There you go. They'll be all right.
I think they've strengthened quite well up front for Angers. Jeremy, Toko and Cambi, Didio. They've got I think a lot more strikers now than they had last season.
They kept hold of some key players as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you look at the transfer list, it looks like a lot of people have gone, but they were a lot of people who weren't necessarily key. I think there's been lots of movement, but the cores remained, and my word would be, Jeju coming in. Interested to see how that works out.
There's no one that's left that was really, I would say, first team, really, first eleven. And then you're looking at Santa Maria as a good pickup, Pavlou, Tolakambi, there's a lot more strength there. But Jeremy, can they do better than they did last season? I wonder how well they did.
I think they can. I mean, I don't think they'll do as well in the first half as they did last season, but I can see them finishing as well or higher by the end of the season, assuming that they keep that spine. If they keep their their 2 centre backs, if they keep at least one of Ndoye and Saiss. And then, I think Tokoya Kambi and Diedu are exciting signatures. Although Diedu actually had a terrible second half. I think he only scored 2 goals in the second half of the season.
Fit well in with Angers.
That's a perfect Angers put in it, isn't
it? I think Martinez is a good pickup from Ajaxio as well. I think they'll do at least as well.
Philippa, we're on 1 to 6 now. Next.
5.
5 is Lorient. Let's not talk more about them. Can they stay up, probably? Because that seems to be their only mission is to stay up. And Guerrero's gone, Jouf's gone, Gassama, Levine's on loan, etc. Loads of players that have gone on loan or gone back on loan. And Sylvain Marvel's come in, Lindsay Rose is there permanently.
They've signed Cafu.
Cafu, which is a bold decision. If Hilton can do it,
they paid money for him as well. Unlike many other teams in Ligue 1 who have got people in for no money, they seem to have actually spent money. My notes on Lorient just read bit weird. I think that's what we've done them actually. I mean, that's it all. I think they're going to be in another fight this season.
Okay, Jeremy, a number please, 1 to 5 or no?
4.
Is Nice, which is a really interesting one because I really don't know how such an amazing season last year. They're going to be in the Europa League, which could be the downfall of them. Lucien Favre's come in. They look a little bit light, I think, around everywhere. Mendy's gone.
I had a bit of a discussion with Rich about this the other day, and I think, first of all, I think they've got a good manager.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think they've brought in a couple of good players like Samba, solid.
Yeah.
But I feel that at the moment they haven't brought in anywhere near enough to compensate for what's gone out.
Like we were saying about Bordeaux sort of being exciting now, I'm kind of looking at Nice going, there's no one there who I really think, apart from someone like Cosiello who sort of start the move, there's no one really. Alassane Play has to have maybe a really good season. Apart from that,
I still think it's going to be a strong midfield, but I like player, but I can't see they're going to be able to score anywhere near as many goals as they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost the two key goal scorers and Mendy and the coach. It looks like this is going to be a significant drop in the standings, and the Europa League might not help there. So it's like, is that going to exacerbate the problems they might have as they try to click?
Even like Jeremy Pied going as well, great sort of experienced player. Nicolas Hult always put a shift in. Geneva was good for them. There's a lot of outs and not a lot ins, which is...
They're going to be relying on a lot of youngsters, which is I'm quite looking forward to seeing, actually.
Is it going to be the year of Alexi Bussetti? Is this going to be it?
No, he's going to go to. He's done Norway, so I think he'll do third division Belarus side, maybe.
Is that good or worse than the Turkish league? I'm not quite sure.
What about Azerbaijan? They've got a good team, apparently.
They've got 3 good teams, apparently.
We can't beat the 4th good team.
You played the 3rd good team.
Did we play the 4th? About Azerbaijan knowledge is not what it used to be. Jeremy, number 2, 1 and 4, please.
Me again, 2.
2 is Leon, which I was all excited for until they got absolutely destroyed. The champion, because that was a really strong 11 that Bruno Genesio sent out. And just think that the important thing is that they've managed to so far keep Alexander Lacazette. Cordan Tolisso maybe got as far as the airport before deciding that Napoli wasn't the move for him. Gazelle might be staying, Ferry still. They've got a lot of really good options. Have they got enough to come second again, or even try and push PSG?
Until Saturday, I'd have said, yeah, nailed on for second, and maybe even give, the same as a couple of years ago, give PSG a little bit of a fright. I'm not so sure now. I still think on paper it's possible, but the defence looked slightly frightening. I'm kind of excited to see the 2 new signings, Ribas and I think it's Mamana, but the centre-back pairing need to sort themselves out quickly as well.
20 yards deeper down the pitch would probably have helped them. That was more their undoing.
Yeah, I worry that I thought for the second half of the season, I thought Yang Ambiwa was an unsung hero. I thought he was fantastic, and I don't think it's a coincidence that his form transformed as soon as Ntisi was next to him.
Definitely. And
so, I worry Nkulu needs to settle in and can't go back to his decent form of 2 or 3 years ago, and help Yang Ambiwa out as quickly as possible. And I think they could become a formidable pairing, and then I can see Lyon having a really good season, but I don't have too many worries going forward. I think Dade as well, second half of the season was fantastic, so I expect him to carry on. Obviously, I think we all hope Fekir goes back to how he was pre-injury. But yeah, I think a lot depends on the defence.
And it's like the first choice defence looks good, but given the departures, I mean, might joke a bit about Kone or Bedimo or whatever, but with them going, looks like there's not an awful lot of cover back there, unless I've missed something. So you need everybody to stay on the pitch.
And maybe in Jeremy Morel to stay off the pitch as much as possible. He was shocking.
Good point.
He was shocking on Saturday. He got found out. He's got a good suntan though. That was what I took from that game. Rich, if Leon keep Lacazette and it's probably hit below one or Gazelle, have they got enough going forward? Not just to challenge in the league, because they probably will be top 4, probably the worst. Have they got enough to do something in the Champions League as well? Because they were awful last season.
I think it depends on what they want to achieve in the league. I don't think so. I think they should. Lyon, the side that they are, the sort of history that they have, the players at their disposal, they should, whatever their group, they should be targeting to get out of their group.
Yeah. Anything
beyond that then is a success as far as I'm concerned. It has to be an improvement on last season. It can't particularly get much worse. But you
say that now, but you
it has to. They need to get the situation with Lacazette resolved ASAP. They can't be letting that drag out until deadline day, because it affects him and it affects the side, as we saw pretty much this time last season. Because he's happy. He seems anyway to be relatively happy with the club. He's got what he wants in terms of a coach that he likes. So
is there a situation to be resolved, or is it just papers?
Yeah, I think he's quite happy. But I think if someone genuinely came in with like a €50 million bid, all AS would have to listen to it.
All
And
that
I heard
would
he'd
have
like
to
to
take
leave,
it.
but he's happy to stay. And
Yeah, and I think if a bid came in and it was a decent amount of money that Olas was willing to do business, and then it would depend on what team it was, and then I think he might think, yeah, it's time to move on. But I think if that doesn't happen, he's not going to force it. He's not going to sort of make public statements saying he wants to go. I think that's not going to happen. So yeah, it's mostly going to be the clubs chasing him rather than Leon or him looking to move him on. We've got 3 teams left. I'm going to keep one to the end because so let's go with Con next to.
Can I just say 2 things on Con? First, they appear to have got Steve Malbronk in on a free.
They have.
And second, they had the friendly match of pre-season. It was my favourite. It was a bit like that random OM Toulon rugby match of a couple of years ago. They played a UNFP Select 11 of free agents in which they managed to score by mistake and therefore allowed the opposition to walk one in to make up. So that's pretty much, I watched the highlights, I couldn't quite believe it.
You can tell it wasn't good because I've not signed anyone from it, which is probably why you do it.
Well, they are free, so
You never know. They got Ronnie Rodlan in permanently. He was trying to stay at Ligue, but that wasn't happening. Geneva comes in, is a really good sign in defence. Dabo from Troyes, he's not been good since he was at Lyon.
it's a good euphemism.
He's not been good, it's probably going to stop there. Appy has gone out.
Not Chris Mavinga.
Well, that's probably the positive for him. Jez, what do you think of Con? They've still got Andy Delort for now. He's not tempted to go to Mexico just yet with Gignac. They seem it's unspectacular, but probably in a good way that they've not lost anyone, but they've sort of strengthened in depth as well.
I like the team they have. I like that they haven't got rid of too many. I think it's Petit Apia and also
Intibas
Zankiza,
yes.
who I saw look good at times last year.
I'm sad he's gone because I can say his name.
It's a pity to see them go, but I think Rodlan is good getting that permanent. Genevois and Malbronk are clever signings. I think the big one is whether they can sort Andy Delort out, and it doesn't look good at all. He sounds like he's pretty much on strike at the moment, and that's a lot of goals to make up for, and puts a lot of pressure on Sané. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. I think he was second to Diediu in Ligue 2 in the goal scoring charts last year.
It's always about can they step up to this level? Delort is done, and it's a big ask, isn't it? They probably want him to be the substitute and come off the bench and get minutes that way. To be put into the starting lineup as the lone centre forward is maybe too much too soon for him.
Exactly, it's a concern. Even if he has a decent season, you'd expect that he might need a month or so to acclimatise to it, and it's a lot of pressure to put on someone if he's going to start the season pretty much as their main goal scorer, and hopefully Rodlan will help him out there as well. But that's the concern there, I think.
They win the award for the most decrepit midfield, though, I think.
Whoa! Don't you be talking ill of Mr. Julien Ferry.
I'm not. No.
Decrepit
in age, not in talent. Because of course, as long as they have the wonderful Mr. Ferry, then of course anything is possible.
It is. And they've got the wonderful Jonathan Delaplace as well, who still adorns my low kit from 2 years ago, legend. And Vincent Bessa. They've still got Jeff Louis, who's I'm still not sure if he's any good or not. Interesting team with a lot of interesting players. It's maybe not. There's no standouts apart from maybe Delort, but it's just a lot of the sum of their parts.
The signings are very, very Patrice Caron signings.
Yeah. And actually, I do love their new badge as well. It's probably one of the best badges in Ligue 1. It's a strong badge. Second last team, the penultimate team, will have to go to Nantes with the main man, René Girard, in charge, which they'll be tough to beat, but they won't score a lot of goals. That's going to be Nantes. Philip, have you seen anything that Nantes have done this summer to suggest that René Girard might be a bit more open?
Well,
No.
I've got them marked in pink, which is bad on my notes. I mean, the thing is they've lost a couple of key players and I've got they've promoted Harrod, who also had a good under-19s Euros, but
he's also linked with leaving already as well.
Okay, so Bedoya's gone, Adrian's gone, who they were kind of
Adrian was
and whatever, but the Sabali end of loan, etc. I wasn't sure what actually has happened at Nantes in the transfer window, and Girard, love him for what he managed with Montpellier, but that was a very specific set of circumstances. This might be a slightly strange situation. I can't see them, doing much more than last season. Kind of depends on the balance overall at the end of the window, because you're thinking that maybe this is a club where there will be some late exits as well, maybe, but tricky, I think. But I can't see a lot of promise.
Yeah. Rich, is the problem that a lot of their or pretty much all their signings, apart from the Ginger Ninja, Aristogeta, we don't really know who they are or what they're going to bring. Kakanilic was at Fulham, they've got Thompson, just to confuse them with Thomason, that's come from Aalborg, Carlos, they've got the guy Lima, both of them from Portugal. We don't really know a lot about them, so we don't know what they're really going to bring. They've still got the mighty Icelandic warrior Corbin Sigurdsson, hero,
and goal machine Emiliano Sala, of course. As well.
Goal machine, yeah. There's some decent players. Still got Sana and Vizcarrondo in defence. So that's his new Basha, and that's what GR loves, a big centre back. Still got Guimond Gile. They've got Rongier. There's some good young players there. Is there enough for Girard to work with and sort of build a good unit there?
Well, I mean, you can call it spite if you want. You can call it whatever you want. I have them going down. There's nothing for me. There's so little about that side that to me tells me that they have enough to stay up.
Is it a little bit of bias in there?
Sorry?
Is it a little bit of Ren bias?
Absolutely. No, I'm not going to hide that. It's absolutely. But I don't think they are defensively as strong as they have been the last few seasons. They've not added to their attack significantly enough, and there seems to be very little in terms of creativity in midfield. So we had the Holy Double earlier. That is the Holy Trinity. We have reached the Holy Trinity. I don't know. I can't see this being a good season for Nantes. There was glimpses last season, but a lot of that was based on the fact that they had a better defence. Sabali is a huge loss. I know Leo Dubois is a competent enough right back, but still relatively untested. There's just nothing. There is something there, as we've said. There's a couple of young players, but if you're relying on somebody who's not played for the senior side and you're playing him just because he had a very good European under-19 championships, then your season's going to be a bit of a struggle.
I'm with Rich and Philippa on that. I can't. There's nothing there to get me, not to get me excited, but yeah, I worry for them. And I think they've got a few. I think they had like 3 or 4 players in that under-19 squad, and so there's a lot of decent youth coming through, but they're certainly not ready to sort of run a Ligue 1 campaign yet. And it's a pretty bad thing to say. That in the long run, it might be a good thing for them to go down and for a couple of those players to sort of come through in a lower division next year. But I think they're going to really struggle this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably just leaves Marseille. So I think everyone's been waiting to speak about them. So, Phil, do you want to go first?
Well, yeah. So they can't find a buyer. Passy is still the manager. They lost a boatload of players key players, some on loan and then they sold or let others go on frees. Most of the people who've come in are loan deals. It's weird, isn't it? Seeing a club kind of that historied in this kind of state, and I think that's weird.
It's an absolute mess, and I absolutely love it. There is no club, I don't think, in this league that can do calamitous disaster better than Marseille. And just when you thought last season was bad, they've somehow managed to sort of go one step beyond this season. So many players gone, so very few players come in, still having to persist with and rely on Florian Thauvin. Probably says it all.
The weird thing about that is that there seemed to be so much willing on both sides for him to stay. It seemed like Marseille, and even a few fans wanted him to stay. It seemed like he certainly wanted to stay, even though Lazio showed interest. I'm surprised at that. Maybe they both realise that they found their level.
Yeah, I think just going back to kind of the admin thing, obviously Lebrun's gone, which I think everybody was very happy about, but now we've got these club communiques saying they've brought in new people to run a new board, one of whom was a close personal friend of Robert Louis Dreyfus, and the other of whom is a family friend of the Louis Dreyfus family. It's like, this has not given any confidence, I think, to the supporters. We've got OM Forum and various other fan sites saying, okay, who is going to be the team this year because of all of the people who left, and things like the Nkudu G swap deal apparently falling to pieces. Nobody's quite sure what's going on there. It just looks like an absolute mess, and I feel most sorry, apart from the fans, for Frank Passy, who, bless him, did a fabulous job when he came in after Michel was finally fired far too late. Mainly, it appears, potentially for financial reasons. He took things back to basics and sort of sorted things out just about for the end of the season. But is he the man to actually be the main manager going forwards? There's all sorts of uncertainty there. Nobody's quite sure if his contract's been changed. It's just, as Rich says, it's turned into a soap opera, which is massively depressing for the fans, and really quite poor just in general terms of looking at the league, that this club is in a sense doing this again, and this time in a sort of more mundane way almost than some of the previous collapses. So Mandanda's gone, Mishi's gone, Mendy's gone. Is Diarra still around? Gomez has come in. He's on loan. Thauvin on loan. Cabella's been bought after a loan last season. They've got Bedemo in. But it still looks very disjointed. And it still looks like there's a lot of holes in that squad. I mean, Gomez is pretty much the only striker if we're talking about senior strikers. So it's going to be an interesting season, possibly not in a good way.
Maybe Doria might actually get a game, but they might have to just play him up front.
I think that the similarities with Newcastle are uncanny. The sort of obviously they've had more recent success than Newcastle, but a sort of former great team with an amazingly loyal and long-suffering fan base, and now they even interchange players on a regular basis. And they're always looking for a kind of messiah as a manager, and maybe what they need is Passy. And he's, Newcastle for a while had that with Chris Hughton and got rid of him, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Passy looks a bit like Hughton. But I think, as you said, it's almost exactly, yeah. But I think, like you said, there's something about this year which is it's almost, at least in the past when everything went seriously wrong with them, it was relatively spectacular, and now it just feels expected, and there's just sort of resignation about it all, and maybe that's what they need, a sort of dead cat bounce, and last year they started, I think, probably, well, obviously with Bielsa there, they probably started the season thinking we're still going to have a decent one. Maybe this year there's absolutely not going to be any expectations, and if everyone can keep expectations or whatever in check, don't get on the players' back, let a couple of the younger players come through, and even if it is a mid-table or even low-table finish, maybe that's what they need, and somehow regroup for next year. But it's really depressing for them at the moment. I'm tempted to say that, like Rich, that I'm loving it, but I'm feeling a little sorry for them right now.
Yeah.
Weak. You're weak, Jeremy.
I did actually have one epiphany, because for years we've been saying, PSG, as long as they start playing nice football, we wouldn't mind so much. I hated Saturday when they played nice football even more than when they're playing rubbish football. At least we had something to beat them with in the past. Anyway, I think that's probably Marseille and PSG is probably a good place to finish for this week. So, season starts on Friday night with, I think, Bastia against PSG and Monaco against Guingamp. And then the rest of the matches over the weekend, and hopefully we'll be back to review those matches sometime next week. So thanks very much to Andrew, Rich and Phil, and see you all soon.
Bye.